All right, everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat here at Shira David. Baruch Hashem, Erev Shabbos. Baruch Hashem. At least this Shabbos, where we're realigning with the rest of the world, right? The Parshas, right? This where the rest of the world is the diaspora Jews, wherever they are. Yeah, they're leading this week Parshas Balak together with Chukas, and we're leading Parshas Balak. Yeah? We did Chukas last week, remember?
No, I thought that they were doing. It was only in Matot Maseh.
No. This week.
Balak Chukat.
Chukat Balak. Yeah, that's how it is. Hey, I didn't make it up.
That's a lot of info to cover on one shot.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
It's a little too much.
Yeah, Parshas Balak is what it's a very, very, very power-packed parsha. I mean, really, if you think about it, if the Torah didn't tell us about it, we never would have known it took place. Right? It was no one. It was really just. It was between just a few people, and really, it's a pachad mamash.
It was just the goyim.
Yeah. And the Sfarim said it really. That was our most dangerous time that we were ever in. Bilam was up there. He could have really caused us tremendous damage. But the Rebbeinu Shalom was protecting us, and He's always there. That's what we have to always remember. Kadosh Baruch Hu is always there, and I believe that's why Bilam, this whole Ma'aseh took place, and why the Torah tells us about it, to remember that even the times that you don't think that Hashem is there, He's the one watching. Right? No, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so now we're learning Hilchos Tefillin, and we're learning the idea of Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin, the importance of the Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin. So before we do Lamed Daled, we're just going to do a quick review. We have a guest here today, Rav Yishai. So we were talking about this wonderful idea that we have Tefillin Rashi. Everyone wears Tefillin Rashi. Whoever wears Tefillin, right? And then there are those that put on Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin. Okay. Rabbi Nachman was very adamant that people put on Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin. Rav Nosson as well. The Morei Nayim, the Rav Pinchas Mikaritzer, a lot of these big tzaddikim of that time were very, very adamant that people put on the Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin. And we learned from Rav Nosson some beautiful ideas of why that is. What is going on? So just to review a couple of moments. We said that when the Rebbeinu Shalom was creating, before He created the world, it came up in His mind to create the world with din, right? Judgment. That was His idea. But then Kadosh Baruch Hu saw that the world can't be Mekayim, the world won't have existence if it's going to be running through din. So Kadosh Baruch Hu then partnered Chesed together with din, and hence we have Olam Chesed Yibana. Right? Olam Chesed Yibana. Hashem made the world with Chesed, but He partnered up with Gvura. The Parshias of the Tefillin Rashi are in the way of Chesed. They go in the way of Chesed. How does that work? Because the first parsha is Kadesh Li Kol Bechor. The second parsha is Vayikeviyacha, right? When you come into the land. So we're talking about Pidyon Haben, and even Vayikeviyacha is also talking about the idea of the Pidyon Haben. Then we have Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad V'Hafta. That's the third parsha, and the fourth parsha is V'Hayim Shema Yitishmo Tzayisai. Okay, comes along Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's grandson, and Rashi's grandson says, "Well, I disagree with you, my dear grandfather, and we're going to have to put the V'Hayim Shemaya before the Shema Yisrael." Okay, right. And we said, so what is the issue with that? The issue with that is that's the din coming before the chesed, right? Because the parsha of Vayim Shemaya, if you're not going to listen, you're not going to get this, you're not going to get that, it's not going to work, right? That's din. So the din comes really before. Then the din is before the chesed. So really, what is the problem with that? So in life, if we go through life, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have most of the time in our lives, Baruch Hashem, we have chasadim. Hashem gives us chesed in our lives, right? Most people have their health. They should always be healthy and well, right? And even those that don't have their health, they have ways to get relief today. I I mean, it's really tremendous chasadim. Really tremendous chasadim Hashem gives us. Even in people that are not well, they have different ways to be able to give them relief. It's an amazing thing. But we always run into little problems, little hiccups in the road, right? There's little curveballs Hashem throws us, right? And when He throws us those curveballs, but we can always look back at the chesed, and we can always take comfort that Hashem was always there, and Hashem always took care of me, and He always will take care of me. And we can get by. But din, if we have the din first, right? If there's always catastrophes in our lives, right? Chas v'sholom, and catastrophes in the world on a constant basis, so then that would be something very hard for us to deal with, right? If we have a catastrophe once in a while, we can get through it. But if it was on a constant basis, that's all we were experiencing, like the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to make the world with din originally, that would be very, very hard. So what happened? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu when He started creation, He made what was called the Cholul HaPonei, right? He made that vacated, voided space. What was that space? That was a space where HaKadosh Baruch Hu withdrew His light, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere, is Mamali and Mesaviv Kol Almin, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu took out His presence from this whole idea of Mamali and Mesaviv Kol Almin. He took out His light. Why? Because He wanted there to be a possibility of Bechira, right? That there be a possibility of Bechira, that man can choose God, right? Hashem wanted us to be able to choose God. If Hashem's light is very present and very powerful, like it is everywhere else other than within creation, in the Olamos, in Shemayim, so then the Malachim are always serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not a problem. They see the truth. They always know the truth. When you know the truth, you can't do anything but partake in the truth, right? If you see the truth, you know the truth. You know it's the Rabbeinu Shalom, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to be able to, He would play the game of hide, go, seek in this world, and we have to go find Him. That's what He wanted. He's the master of that game of hide, go, seek. And you know the way it is when the kids are playing the game hide, go, seek, and you find the guy, right? You remember when we played that game? It is such a simcha, right? Everyone's happy. Oh, you got me there. Everyone is so happy. That's what it is with Rabbeinu Shalom. He's hiding. He wants us to find Him. When we find Him, there's a great simcha. There's a great simcha. But the tzaddikim always see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything. That's like Yitzchak, right? Yitzchak is tzchok. He's laughing. What do you mean He's laughing? He's din. Yitzchak is din. Why is he laughing? He's having all the problems in his life. Why is he laughing? He sees right through it. He sees that really what Hashem is doing is really a chesed. He sees Hashem's end game. What's He trying to accomplish with this din? So He's not paying attention to the din. He's paying attention to what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to accomplish. The same way we learned in the story of the 7 beggars, the 13th story of Rabbi Nachman, we had the blind beggar, right? We had the blind beggar, and the blind beggar was the one that was blind, but he wasn't blind. He was old, but he was young. What do you mean he was blind, but he wasn't blind? He was blind. He had selective seeing, right? He only wanted to see what he wanted to see. If it was something that interested him, he was able to see it. Otherwise, he didn't pay any attention to it. All right? And that's what the tzaddikim do. The tzaddikim don't look at the problem itself. They're looking at they see the Rabbeinu Shalom in this, and He's behind this thing, and that's okay. So the problem was when Hashem made the Cholul HaPonei, Amalek, he claimed presence in that place, that voided space, and that's why it says Reishis Goyim Amalek. What's Reishis Goyim Amalek? Right, Reishis. Why right at the beginning? Amalek said, "Hashem, oh, you checked out, I'm checking in. You left, I'm coming in."
Where would that come from?
Where did what come from?
If Hashem voided a space, where did?
That was part of Hashem's plan.
Right.
This was part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plan when He created the Sitra Achad, the Samach Mem. He created purposely that Amalek can go into the voided space and he can claim that he's the first one. He's even before God. He says, I'm before God. I'm here first. God left, I'm here. I'm here. Right? And that's how the world today can say what they say, and they can do what they can do, because again, Amalek says, I'm here first, before God. But when you so that's the chesed before the din. But if you go back to the din before the chesed, which was Allah b'machshava of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, was in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's machshava to make the world with din. So then you bypass, you go past, you transcend the whole thing of creation, because you go back, you connect back to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You understand? In other words, Hashem made creation. Before creation, He wanted it to all be din. Before creation, it was all din. Then Hashem said, no, it's not going to work, and He made the voided space so He allow for creation. That was the chesed, right? Allow for the bechira. So, but if you can connect back to what the machshava was to Rabbi, so before He created anything, so that means you can go back before anything ever happened. You understand? You're going back before anything in creation ever happened. You're connecting back to the machshava of the Rebbeinu Shalom, to the highest place, to the highest thing. Not even the machshava of the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's an unbelievable idea. So that's what the Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin are doing. It's connecting us back to that place. So the tzaddikim all said that we're going to have a lot of kfira in the world. There's going to be a lot of kfira in the world before Mashiach comes. And why is that? Because that's again all the chevle haleda, right? In other words, we're trying the whole process is that we're trying to the same way that and he says that's why we start off the parsha with the Pidyon Haben. Why is the first parsha in the Tefillin of Pidyon Haben? When did we get the mitzvah of Pidyon Haben? Right after when we're coming out of Mitzrayim, right? The Kadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, I get rid of all the B'chayim Mitzrayim. Now, Kadosh li kol B'chor, right? Isn't that what happened? Right? Kadosh li kol B'chor, right? Why? Because again, the whole idea is that we birthed as a nation leaving Mitzrayim. Only because the B'chayim were what? No, but the B'chayim Mitzrayim were killed because they all died. Then we were able to be redeemed. It's unbelievable. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now you're going to take, you should now sanctify for me every firstborn, right? So and we know that we learn all the every geula we learn is going to come the same way Mitzrayim comes, right? The same way we got out of the Gullus Mitzrayim, we're going to get out of this Gullus as well. But the birthing process is very painful, right? A mother goes through the birth, the gestation period. So some days she has problems, right? And some days it's a better day. Most of the time it's pretty good. Most of the time on normal pregnancies, right? Normal pregnancies. But when she goes into labor, then Chazal say she gives out at least 70 cries, 70 wails, right? Shivim koilos, right? Why is Shivim koilos? Because again, there's the 70 ideas of Torah, right? We have the Shivim panim la Torah, and then we said that saying the Tehillim 100, right? Like we say every morning, if there was a Shem Simcha by Lefanimana, right? Right, Vadar Emunah, right, is a segula for the women to say when they're giving birth, because again, the whole idea of Amalek is he wants to take away the continuity that we have as a people. He wants to remove the continuity, right? That we have the generation midor lidor, dor lidor yishabach masecha, vador emunah, right? That's the whole idea what he's trying to do. So when we put on, again, when we have the Tefillin Rabbeinu Tam, when we connect back to the Machshava of the Rebbeinu Shalom, so then we can really have in mind, even when we put on those Tefillin, all those people that are stuck in the whole idea of the Chol Apani and that vacated space, and they're stuck, and they to try to help them and redeem them, bring them back to that place also before they got stuck in that whole mess. We have all the leftists, right? We have to daven for them, that they should come back and they should do tshuva also, right? They're good people. They weren't brought up the right way, and they read the wrong things, whatever it is. But they're Yidden, Well, we hope they are anyway, right? Some of them are. Some of them are, right? Right. So we have to daven them. But again, by putting on these tefillin, it helps us to connect and to realize everything that we're dealing with in the world is really a bunch of nonsense. And it's really just to always turn to the Rabbeinu Shalom. And that's what we're holding now with this idea with Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin. There's so much more, but I again, does anyone have any questions? I said a lot of things here. Does it make sense? Yeah. We went over this a couple of times, so I just want to make sure we understand it.
I appreciate
Ellie, you have any questions? You want to say anything?
No, I was just thinking.
Please.
That what's happening in the world is that you have people on the other side saying, "Well, we were here first."
Yeah.
Or saying, "You're not the real Jews. You don't have any continuity."
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing over and over.
It's the same thing, right? That's where it came from.
Yeah.
We were here first.
Yeah.
Right, that's the first Rashi in Chumash, right? Look at the first. Rav Yitzchak, he quotes Rav Yitzchak, right? Yeah, why did Hashem why did he start the Torah with Bereshis Bara? Hey, listen, I created the world, I gave it to you guys. If you weren't doing the right thing, I took it away from you, I gave it to the Jewish people. Right, that's what Rashi says.
My house, my rules.
It's Hashem's house, it's his rules, exactly. Right? Unbelievable. Yeah, you guys are right, you did have it. But you don't have it anymore. So get out. Oh, if it was only that simple, right? But it really is, if we only believed it. Right? And we know anytime we believe something and we act on our belief, it works. But, okay.
I keep reminding myself when we talk about this on a personal level,
Yeah.
that the din that comes into my life is good because it's showing me what I need to learn.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, but be careful. Don't ask for the din. We ask
for it, I'm
Hashem,
just
don't
being aware
test
of it.
us. Yeah, that's good. That's good. When you can, it's good. Okay, so let's see. Now we're in Lamed Dalet, okay? So we learned this before. Rav Nassan's he's just gonna review it with us a little bit. So tefillin can be written and be made, can be produced by any behema tahira. It can be also a chaya tahira, right? If we have, let's say, a deer, you can make it from a deer. From any bird, any kosher bird, you can make it from also. But we said it's not necessarily practical to make it from those things, but it can be done. Right, even for example, a giraffe is a kosher animal. We just don't know how to shecht it. So if there would be a giraffe that died, right, you could take the giraffe and you can use the giraffe skin and you can use the giraffe to make your tefillin. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a kosher animal. We don't know how to use it. It doesn't have to be an animal that you slaughtered.
It could be in the Valley.
It could be an available. It doesn't have to be a kosher animal. It had a possibility that you could use it. Right? It had a possibility. So the giraffe and the cow and the goat and the sheep and all of these animals have the possibility to be eaten if they die, but their meat is still okay. He says over here, al gabe or behema tahira, has to be an or from an animal that was tahar. Now he goes on to say, ki arhu bechinas hamedame, because the or is the idea of the medame, imagination. Wow, isn't that amazing? Right? When we see, Chazal tell us, right, the idea that a person sees something, they see let's say they see a beautiful woman. So what does Chazal say to do? Think inside. Really, what's inside this beautiful woman? You're just seeing the skin. You're seeing the outer part. But really, what's she full of? She's mali dam mitzayah. That's what Chazal say. She's filled with blood and excrement. But it's a medama. In other words, the eye see it, and my imagination runs rampant, and it's the koyach medama. Okay, medama. Shehi achitzonius haseichel. That's the chitzonius. That's the outer part of our seichel. Right, our seichel is really deep. Seichel is really deep. Seichel is really I can understand things in a deep way, but the chitzonius part is the external part, which is the shallow part, very shallow, right? Bechinas levush, it's an idea of the levush, right? And that's really what our skin is, right? Epidermis, right? right? Epidermis. Is that what they call skin, right? Epidermis, right? Okay. Okay, levush, which is really the levush of the seichel, right? The idea, the R, the skin, is an idea which is the levush of the seichel. He's going to explain that. Don't worry. Ki yesh nefesh ruach neshama shehem bechinas ashloisha oiros hapnimim shehem bechinas tlas moichin ukinegden yesh shloisha kelim shehem basar v'gidim v'atzamayis. So we were talking about this concept of, let me just fill you in. So we were talking about this concept that the Rebbeinu Shalom never does anything twice the same way. Everything is always different. And we were saying that when let's say there's a nefesh, there's a neshama that came back as a gilgul, so you say, wait a second, so the neshama came back. So we learned, no, the neshama did come back, but it came back with a different combination of a ruach and nefesh. Okay, there are many different combinations of ruach and nefesh, and that's going to determine the tendency of that person based on the combination of the nefesh, ruach, and the shama that he was granted in that gilgul is going to determine the tendencies of that person based on those things. Make sense?
Sure.
Okay, so that means that's how we can understand that really nothing is ever done. Nothing by Hashem is ever done two times the same way. All right. So now we have the idea that there's the nefesh, ruach, and the shama, which is the three lights hapnimim, where we understand that these are things that we have nothing. These are light. These are inner lights. This has nothing to do with we can really connect to, right? Like we were talking about in the Maisa with the 7 beggars, right? So we had the blind beggar that recalled the eight zakanim. Right? We had the 8 zakanim. Do you know the story? Yeah? Okay, there was the 8 zakanim. And the 8 zakanim recalled back many things, right? They recalled back when he was when he was first born, and they cut the umbilical cord, right? That was the first one. And the second one said, "Do you think that's so great? I remember when I was in my mother's stomach. I remember I was in the womb, and I was able to, and it was the ner doilet, right? And I was able to see misayf oilam ad sayfai. Wow, that's great." And the other one says, "You think that's so great? I remember when the embryo was being formed, and my body was being formed." Wow, pretty good, right? That's a pretty good recollection, right? And then the next one said, what did the next one say? He could remember the time that his mother was impregnated, and he became an embryo. That was the first 4, right? And then the next 4 said, "I remember when the seed was still in my father's mind. I can remember when it was still part of my father's machshava, before it became the tipa zera." Okay, all right. And the next one says, "You think that's so great? I can remember my nefesh. I can remember my nefesh, where my nefesh came from." The next one said, "I can remember where my ruach came from." And the next one said, "I can remember where my neshama came from." Right? It was chatzah meitachas kisei hakavod. Right? Okay. So the difference between the 8, we have four that are not something that are tangible. Right? There was something in the father's mind. The nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama is not something that we can relate to really, because it's not something physical. It's something more out there. It's the ar hapnimi, right? That's part of the ar hapnimi, like we're saying here. It's the ar hapnimi. It's not something physical, right? Which masha'in came the other 4, the first 4, that's part of in this world. Right, his mother was impregnated. Right, that's already there. There's something there. Then it became the embryo, became the fetus. Right, it was developing, and then the baby was born, and then they cut the umbilical cord. So we said that the first 4 are connected to the tefillin shel yad, and the tefillin on the yad has the same 4 parshias in them, but they're on one cloth. Right? Remember, right? They're on the same 4 in the same order, the same sequence, right? That doesn't change the sequence. It's the same sequence, right? Kaddish li kol bechor, v'haya kiviyacha, shema, and V'hayim Shemaya, right? That's how it is in the Rashi Tefillin in the Yad, okay? And why is that? Because it's really one segment of creation, so that's why it's together. But when it came to the Tefillin Shel Roish, which is connected to the Tzaddik, which is the Roish B'nai Yisrael Rebbe, right? We said, so that is there are four separate compartments, because you have the Nefesh, the Ruach, the Neshama, and the Machshava of the Father are four things that are not tangible. That are not tangible. So therefore, they're really separated one from the other. There's not a connection to them on some level, and that's why the four parshiyos are divided in the Rosh, not in the Yad. You ever hear that before? No? Interesting idea. Why they're divided here, they're not divided, right? Okay, so now we're saying that the three, what?
So you said that because the yad is connected the goof,
Yeah.
and it's like a one retzef.
Right, and that's why it goes neged alev. Right, neged alev, right? And one of the things we said of the tefillin is that the ritzuas, right? The ritzua has to come down that connects from the rosh, it comes down, has to go at least till the lev. Why? Because the tefillin is there to fix the akmumiyah shebalev, right? To remind the heart and to remember what's important, right? And then the other one has to go down to the tabar, right? At least to the tabar, to the belly button, right? At least to the belly button. Why? Because again, to remember us that we're always new every single day. And we're reborn every single day. Every day has nothing to do with the other day. Every day is a brand new creation. Every day is a brand new thing. So he said here, so the shleish oires apnimim. Shein bechinas tlas meichen, that's the three levels of the mind. Or kinegdam yesh shleish kelim, you have three kelim, that's the basar, the gidim, and the atzamas, right? So we have the flesh, right? We have the flesh. We have the gidim the blood vessels, right? And the atzamas are the bones, right? The bones. V'al yesh or hachayfa. And on top of all of that, you have the skin that covers it, right? That's really the makeup of every person, right? We have basar, gidim, and atzamas, and we have the skin that covers everything. Shu bechinas chitzonius, the chitzonius. That's the external of the external, right? And that's the skin that we all see, right? We can see the skin. We don't know anything else. We don't want to see anything else. We don't want to know. Chas v'shalom, we should see on anything else, right? We just want to see the skin. Okay. Now, he says, so far so good. Bechinas katnas the katnas. It's the smallest of the smallest. And again, that's why people get so involved in what they see, and people get enticed by what they see. And that's why the Torah says, "V'lo yisasur achrei levavchem v'achrei einechem asher atem zoynem achreihem l'man tizkeru." Right? In other words, if you want to remember your learning, be careful what you see. Be careful what you see. The Torah tells us that's the greatest shmirah that you can have. To have a shmirah senayim against from the chitzonius of the katnas to the katnas of those things, and then watch, you could remember what you learned. It's an amazing concept. Okay, in the word be'etz chayim b'shar chashmal ba'arichas binyan ha'or ba'chashmal. So this is not talking about the chashmal like we have here, the electricity, right? Right? It's a big inyan. Hadas v'atoy v'hara. Okay, so it's talking about over there the idea in the Eitz HaChaim. It's talking about the Eitz Hadas Toy v'Ra. The Eitz Hadas Toy v'Ra. It's talking about the good and the bad, and that tree again back to the Nachash HaKadmoni, right? That caused us to be in the mess that we're in right now, right? All of that. It really stems back. It always goes back to that thing. Ki kulam bechinas achas v'yonkim zeh mizeh, because it's all really all one. And they really all nurture on one and the next, right? They all connected to each other. Ikra avodah shel habeirur levarer lezachay cha'or bechinas achizas haklipa sheyonkim misham. The main thing is the main avodah that we have to straighten out the toiv and the ra. How do we do that? We have to be mezachei ha'or. We have to cleanse our or. Right? You take a shower, go to the mikveh. No. right? Notice it means cleanse our R. What does that mean? That means to cleanse our perspective of everything that we see. The more that we realize that there's so much more than what we see on the R of a person, right? We just see the external things. We don't know anything that's internal, right? Like we said, we have the basar, we have the gidim and the atzamas, right? There's all that's inside, but all I see is the R. And I have to realize there's much more to a person. That's more of the pnimi, not to be attached to the R. Okay, really, where are we going with all of this? That's the whole idea. We're saying is that the tefillin is made out of R, right? It's made out of R. To recognize, look at this. You see, I'm taking this skin from the animal. It has to be from an animal to hire. I'm taking the skin and I can work it. I can make it into something so beautiful that has such beauty that's in there, and there's so much depth in there. So the tefillin are really like us. Why? Because the tefillin also have a lot of things inside them, right? And you just see the R, you just see the skin, right? The hide, right? The hide of the animal is on the outside. You understand? To recognize, to teach us, this really where Rav Nassan's going. It's a little bit complicated. I'm just trying to give you the so we can get through this, okay? There's a lot of klipas that are yoinik. And we said the whole idea of the chalul aponi was the same way that the klipa comes them the pri, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it in the way that every time there's a fruit that's growing, right? Let's say there's an orange, right, that's growing. So the peel of the orange develops before the orange, and the orange develops inside the peel, right? That's how fruits are. That's how all fruits are, right? Nuts and fruits and vegetables, everything grows that way. If you ever saw it, right? You agree, right? So that's how. And why is it like that? Because that's how Hashem made the world. He made the voided space. That voided space was really the klipa for creation. And the creation was created within that voided space. Isn't that an interesting idea? Mama's the same way something grows. That's how the world, that's how Hashem made the world. So the problem is that the klipa is always trying to be yonik. The klipa is trying to take away from the fruit. It's trying to be yonik. The klipas are really the lowest thing, right? We have malchus. What?
Yonik is what?
Yonik is to nurse from it, to nurture from it. Nurture? You say nurture also? No? Nurse? Okay, either way. Shemisham ikar hu b'chinas klipas noga. That's where the whole idea of the klipa noga comes from. What's klipa noga? Klipa noga is something that has the possibility to be elevated. It has a possibility to be elevated, right? You have the klipa, you have klipas that are tameas, right? You have certain things that are tameh, that can't be elevated, right? Like you can't take a sheretz and make a sheretz tar. You can't do that. It's just by itself, it's part of the klipa tameas. You can't do that. But klipas noga is something that has a possibility to be elevated because it's so to say parava. It's parav. You can make it either fleshik, you can make it either basari, you can make it either chalavi, whatever you want to do with it, right? You could do something with it because it has that ability. Make sense? Okay, we got it? Klipas noga. So that's what we're saying, the behema tahira, right? When you make the skin from the behema tahira, right, from the pure animal, it has the ability to be used to make tefillin from it. It has that ability, right? You can make chairs for your car also from it, right? Right, you can make a baseball glove from it. Well, you can make tefillin, right? You use the skin to do you can do anything you want. It has the possibility to do whatever you want from it, right? That's klipas noga. She bechinas eitz das tovara. That's the idea of the eitz das tovara. Klipas noga. There's good, there's bad. But the idea was that when before that we ate from the tree the eitz das tovara, tov was tov. Was good, and you couldn't say that good was bad, and bad you couldn't say is good, like they do today in the world, right? Anything that's bad in the world today, they tell you it's great. Anything that's good, they tell you no, it's bad, right? Eitz das tevara. Shezeh bechinas haor shehu alavush kol haguf. And that's the idea of the or, that's the levush of the whole body. Right? We have skin throughout our entire body, and that's what keeps our body intact, right? It keeps all the blood vessels and all of the skin, all of the flesh, and all of the bones intact, because the skin closes everything up, right? Sheberura yayidei bechinas chashmal, through the idea of this ruchni, the levush, the ruchni. That's what the chashmal is. That's in short, which is what watches us and protects us from the chitzonium, that they shouldn't be yoinik the koyach from us. Okay, velas is bechinas kosnas or. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. What, you want to say something? No. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made for Adam and Chava right after the Eitz Das Tovara. He made for us what kosnas or. He made us these garments. These which I think the common view is they were leather garments, right? There was some kind of leather garments, some kind of skin, right? And then it's also said that when Rivka took the clothes of Esav and she put them on Yaakov, right, to take the brachas from Yitzchak, so they say that's actually, those were the clothes that were handed down, that were given to Adam and Chava, and he put them on, and that's why Yitzchak said, I smell the smell of Gan Eden. He says, I'm a reich Gan Eden. Why? Because those clothes came from Gan Eden. That's where they were clothed in them. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Anyway, so this is the idea of the kosnas or. The kosnas or. Lebechinas kosnas or ba'alef. Okay, when we said Rab Meir, right? Remember we said Rab Meir, in his Torah, he wrote it with the R. He wrote it with an aleph. He said it was light. And why is that? Because Rab Meir, we learned about Rab Meir, right? Remember that? You were here early that time? We learned about Rab Meir. Rab Meir said that he really looked at all we mentioned before the shrotzim. For Rab Meir gave 150 different reasons why the sharetz is really tar. Rab Meir was able to do that. He gave 150 reasons. Chazal said, you know something, Rab Meir, you're right, but we can't paskin like you. We agree with everything you're saying. Because again, Rab Meir wasn't looking at the sheretz for the sheretz. Rab Meir was seeing in the sheretz, he was seeing the life force. The life force of the sheretz is really the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's tar. That's holy.
It's great that Rabbi Meir's name is Rabbi Meir.
Meir. With an olive, right? It's nothing stopped, right? Nothing stopped. Everything is so deep, so deep. We learned a lot about that, the idea, and that's why then that's what led us into halacha hey. That was the last thing in halacha dalet, right? And that's what led us into halacha hey, which was the story with the 7 beggars, and then again we had the blind beggar that really wasn't blind. Again, he was that same idea of Rab Meir. Rab Meir only chose to see the good in everything. But Chazal said, listen, you're right, Rab Meir, it's true that it's on that level it is tar, but hey, we can't paskin that way because people won't understand that. You understand that, we understand that, but the average person won't understand that concept.
Why his name is Ma'or?
Yeah, with the olive. That's what Ellie just said. Isn't that nice? Is that amazing? Unbelievable. Aleph, with the olive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was so I gave you a little background. Okay. V'zeh ha'or shehu b'chinas ha'kli ha'chitzon shel haguf. So now we established the idea that the skin is the kli hachitzon, which is the external vessel for the body, right? It's the external part of every single being, right? Every living thing has skin, right? Whether it's an animal, whether it's a bug, whether it's a fish, anything that's alive has R to it. There's an R achitzon shel haguf. Shu keneged v'chinas koyach hamadam shu koyach hachitzon shel haseichel. That's again the external things of the seichel, right? The seichel has internal things, external things, where it looks at the shallow things, it looks at things like that. That's the chitzoni of the seichel. V'chinas levush seichel v'chitzonius, and that's the levush. That's the garment of the seichel and the chitzonius. Ki koyach hamadam hu b'chinas koyach habahamis. Because the idea, this is an amazing idea. This koyach hamedama is really the koyach habahamias. That's the koyach, the animal nature, the instincts that we have. We know that animals don't think. Animals don't think, but they do have an imagination, right? They do have an imagination. It's an amazing thing. Mamish, an amazing thing. Years ago, we had a little dog. And it was just an amazing thing to watch this thing that all of a sudden, like the dog is sleeping, whatever it's doing, it's sitting, and all of a sudden it would jump up. And you would see it, it would start looking for something. Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? That's the koyach hamedama. Animals have, it's a beautiful thing to see these things, to understand it. And I would never have understood this if I didn't see that. Notice the animals have a koyach hamedama. They imagine, okay, if I jump over here, I'll get this thing. They're not thinking, it's just koyach hamedama. Animals can't think. Do you agree with that or don't agree? Do you agree?
I guess.
No, we don't know, but we said there's an idea that the medama is the koyach habahamas. Bechinas koyach hachai she'odam kemamuva. That's the same idea that we have animal instincts in us as well, right? We do things on impulse, right? That we're learning the whole idea of the tefillin. The whole idea is the erech hapayim, right? The whole idea of the tefillin is we do things. We take our time. We don't jump to conclusions. We don't act on the koyach habahamis. We don't act on that. We have to use more the mind. Yisha, you're smiling. You like that?
Yeah, I like that. I smiled because.
Say something. Yeah, tell me.
On my app, you can move the makel. Like
Yeah.
So it just says the Breslov app says. Agdarat utzlacha, Hashem yivarechecha b'kol mikol kol.
Mikol kol.
That's what it says. I just
Wow.
Okay.
Amen.
I was thinking about the good people at Breslov.
What does that say? Translate, please.
It just says Hashem should bless you. I just pressed
Bless
the
you
button.
with everything. All good. Everything.
That's mine.
Shul chitzayni es haseichel b'chines hamedame sham ikar habeira. That's where where the clarifications can happen. Ki hamedama hu b'chinas noga. The medama also is the idea of noga, right? And we said we can take our mind and our imagination. We can imagine that we could do all good things. We can imagine what we can accomplish. We can imagine what we can achieve, right? We can do that, right? Otherwise, people use their imagination, and it brings them to more anxiety and more depression because they're worrying that everything is doom and gloom, right? There are people that live that way, and they use their koyach hamedama. Everything's closing in on them. Everything is the world is bad, and everything is bad, and the government is bad, and everything is bad. They're using their medama. They're taking the klipa noga, right? They're taking this idea, the medama, which can be elevated. You can elevate the right. We can use it to the seichel elyon. You could raise it up, or chas v'shalom, you could lower it down, and that brings people to where they are. And that's why people, I believe, today are suffering more than they ever suffered before in life. People today, I believe, are suffering more. Even though there's so much chesed in the world today, more chesed in the world today than there probably ever was in history.
In more Gashmias.
More Gashmi, yeah. Right? More food in the world, right? There was ever a time in the world that there was food so beautiful like we have today? You go to the store and you can pick which kind of pepper you want, what kind of tomato you want, what kind of zucchini you want, it's amazing. And there are 12 different apples, what kind of apples you want to eat. It's amazing, is it not? 100 years ago, someone had an apple, they were just happy. They had one kind of any orange, they were happy. Any kind of a tomato, they were happy. Right? And they would say, no, we need cherry tomatoes, plum tomatoes, we need the beefsteak tomatoes, Campari tomato, we need all kind of different things. It's amazing what we have today. But yet people are depressed.
What's interesting about that to me is that you just saying it is that's why din first couldn't work. Because look where we are even with chesed first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But again, because like we're saying here, the koyach hamedama which is a klipa noga, right? So in other words, what we're learning, it's so important to use the mind in such a good way and always to thank the Rebbeinu Shalom, to always thank the Rebbeinu Shalom. You know, Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, they asked him, where in Shemona Esrei should we can ask Hashem for things that we need? Where should we ask? So what do you think he answered?
After Modim.
Huh?
After Modim, maybe.
In Modim.
Oh,
He said in Modim.
In Modim.
In Modim. Because when you're thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom, when you're thanking him, you're giving him recognition, that's the greatest time to ask Hashem for whatever help you need. Because he's wow, you're thanking me? Well, what do you need? What do you need? If you're just asking for things, right? Everyone understands. You ask for in Hashem in the bracha Shema Koleinu, right? You ask anyone where should he ask for things in Tefillah, they'll tell you it's in Shema Koleinu, right? Most people would say that, right? The Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the great tzaddik, he said no, say it in Modim for that reason. Again, when we can use the koyach hamedama for that in that way, that koyach hamedama that we have, and we can use it, and we understand that it's noga, that I can use it to elevate, or it can knock me down. But then that's the whole idea. In the morning, when we get up in the morning, Moida ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kem shechazalta bi nishmasi. Hashem, you sent me back my neshama. Let's start the medama right there. Where did the neshama come back from? Where did the neshama come back from? It came back from up on high? Wow, my neshama was just up in Shemayim? It was just up where it came from, the Olam HaAtzilus? And it just came back to me? How about we try to imagine what that's all about? Use the medama, kayach medama, right there in the morning when we get up for a second, take another second, and just think, wow, shechazata bi nishmasi. Where? From where? Where did it come back from? Wow, it came back from up on high? You mean I just saw Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? I just saw the great tzaddikim? My neshama was just there? And it came back now? Wow. And we have, we said that's the Rishimu that we have, right? There's a Rishimu that comes in, every time we experience something great and it leaves us, but there's always a Rishimu that's left. There's always a little imprint of it that's left. Try to connect to that. That's the Klipa Noga we can use in the most beneficial way. And we spent a lot of time learning about that in Hilchas Hashkamas Habayit. I'm just reminding us what we learned about before. Bechinas R, which is the R, Bechinas Eitz Hadas Toivera, Shesham Ikar Habeira, that's the main place of clarity. That's the main place things can be straightened out. And according to how much you work on clarifying and fixing your medama, using your medama in the proper way, in a good way, then you also can gain more emuna. You want to know how you can gain more emuna? Work on your medama. Work on your imagination, and then you can have more emunah. Why? Because you can imagine Hashem being more in your life, which will give you more emunah. You can use the imagination. It's unbelievable. We imagine things, and then it leads us to do things. Right? The person imagines, if I go to this place, it's going to be great over there. So I got to get over there. It's an imagination. What brings him there? He imagined it's going to be good. He imagines he'll enjoy it. He imagined it's something, and that's what brings the person. But if I also can imagine that I'm with the Rebbeinu Shalom and Hashem is always with me, Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Summit, right? And I can understand Kol Ma Da'avid Rachmana L'Tav of it, and everything in my life, everything Hashem is always there, and everything Hashem does for me in my life, He does for the good. He does for my ultimate good. So then that leads me to have more emunah. That leads me to be more of a mamin b'Hashem, using the kayach hamedama. Amazing. I don't know anyone else that talks about this idea. I learned many svarim, Baruch Hashem. No one else talks about this kayach hamedama. It's never spoken about. I never saw it anywhere. Speaking about how it's so important, is the idea of our imagination, and how the imagination will really lead a person to whatever they're...
Right.
Yeah, you want to say something?
So the Piaseczky speaks tremendously on this.
But not in the context of imagination, in other ways, not talking about the Koyach HaMedama.
He talks about using the imagination.
Yeah.
It talks about it
Yeah.
in terms of meditation and visualization.
Okay. I learned this from the Beers. I didn't get that from that, but okay.
Yeah, but he said that he got it from here.
Yeah.
I mean, he says he got it
From Rabbi
Nosson.
Nachman. Yeah, Rabbi Nosson. Okay. Shleimus Tikkun Amidam. Okay, very good. Shkoyach. Okay, we'll look at that. Kemavur B'Torah Tiku, which is in Tinyana Torah Ches. Umuva Le'el Behilchas Tzitzis. We learned about that. Sheikar Amuna Hu B'Koyach Hamedam. The whole idea of Amuna really comes from the Koyach Hamedam. All right, so let's see now. We have a couple more minutes. Okay, let's see. No, we're not going to be able to finish this idea, but should we go a little further? We can have a little time. Okay, good. V'zeh b'chinas David. Now we're talking about David HaMelech. We said that David HaMelech is also connected to the Dalid on the Rosh. That's in the back of the Rosh, right? And we said that the Dalid that we put on the back of our neck, right? That Dalid, right? Well, we said Dalid is for David, right? But with that's not where it came from. We said that really David HaMelech is connected to the Tzorah Chayim, right? That David HaMelech really is connected to the idea, the connection of life. Why? Because David HaMelech knew that his life he was living really on borrowed time. David HaMelech had no time of his own. David HaMelech used every moment of his life in a way of arichas hapayim. Every way he was always being marich the zman. He always made the best of every moment and every situation in his life because he realized how precious every moment was. It's an amazing thing how David HaMelech understood it, and he used it as every moment was his last moment. Every day was his last day. He used every single day of his life that way because he realized it's not mine. It's not mine. Wow, David HaMelech, he's the regel revi shel HaMerkava. David HaMelech is the fourth foot, the fourth wheel of the Merkava. Okay, the holy Merkava. Okay, Shehu bechinas ois revi. That's the fourth letter. Shebeshem Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei. So we know that the Shem Havaya. One way to understand the Shem Havaya, the four letters is the first. The Yud is Chachma. Right, the first Hey is Bina, right, and then we have the Vav, which is Chesed Gevura Tveres Netzach Chod Yesod, 6, because it's also the letter Vav is 6, so you have the 6 spheres in there, okay, and the last Hey is Malchus. The last Hey is Malchus. So David HaMelech, that makes good sense now because we're saying that David HaMelech is connected to the last letter of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the last letter of the Yud Kei Vav Kei is Malchus. Makes sense? Okay, so we learned something today. Good. Bechina Shin Shel Shalosh Roshim, Beshin Shel Arba Roshim. We have the Shin on the Tefillin that on the right side has 3 prongs. Right, there are 3 heads of the Shin, and on the left side it has 4. Right. It wasn't a mistake. It was done that correctly. It was done like that. Because the first 3 letters, hey bechinas tlas avoyin, they're connected to the 3 fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Okay, tlas moichin, which is connected to the 3 chambers in the mind that a person has. Bechinas Shin Shel Shalish Roshan. That's the idea of the Shin with the 3 prongs. So connected to 3 quadrants of the mind. We know that the mind has 4 quadrants, right? But we're talking about now 3. We're talking about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the 3. Okay? V'David hu bechinas ois ha'achroina shebeshem Havaya. Right, David is the last letter of the ois of the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shu bechinas hamalchus emuna. We know that malchus is emuna. Okay, so we're connecting the whole idea. We said before the whole idea is when we use the koyach hamedama, we can use the koyach hamedama, the koyach of the imagination, in order to increase our emuna. Right, so Rav Nosson is saying, okay, now we're talking about Emunah. I'm going to tell you that Malchus is also Emunah. Malchus is also Emunah, and that's connected to David HaMelech, the 4th letter of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shehu kineged tikkun hamedama. That's the idea of tikkun hamedama. Again, Rav Nosson is just trying to help us understand that if you want to have more, more amuna in Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so you have to work on the koyach hamedama.
What would be an example of that?
Of what?
Use your imagination being used and it's in alignment with Hashem's will.
Well, okay. So when you remember in the morning where your neshama came back from, right? And you remember and you remember that you have your neshama is a chelik elei mal. You remember that your neshama is a part of a piece of Hakadosh Baruch Hu mamish that's inside of you. That you're one with Hashem. You're mamish one with Hashem. So when you use your imagination to imagine that I'm mamish one with Hashem. Why? How am I one with Hashem? Because my neshama that I have is a chelik elei mal. So it means that makes me one with Hashem, because Hashem is keeping me ticking. I'm only alive because Hashem has the neshama inside me. Yeah, you want to say something,
I'm
David?
just saying, everything came from Hashem. Your wife, your house, the sefer, everything.
Yeah, sure.
The apple,
No, but even more. You're only our total existence. We're only alive because we have the neshama, the chelik elei mal inside of us.
So we can imagine all those things when we see.
Yeah, one of the things it says in the Siddur is to imagine before you even say Modeh Ani that you see Hashem's name.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to do that yet.
The Yud Kei Vav Kei.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an idea. But most people don't. Most. Yeah. No. Okay, I understand. But a lot of people at that point in the morning when they're just getting up, it's good to stop to just try to imagine where my neshama came back from and to give me a little boost in the morning. It's a beautiful idea if you try to do that one time.
Who was it that said the first thing you do is to think of what comes to your mind when you first wake up? We just learned that somewhere from Rabbi Katz. I can't remember.
No, we learned that in our class. We learned that in the morning. The first thing that's a Nakuda Kedosha that comes to us every single day.
It was here.
Right, that Nakuda Kedosha that comes to us every day to try to connect to it. Every day you get up in the morning, you have a different feeling. You never feel the same way twice, right? You have a different feeling every single morning. Do you agree with that, Yishai? You feel different every morning? You feel the same every morning?
Sometimes it's my shoulders, sometimes it's No, I'm just kidding.
No. But do you ever feel that? Do you ever feel a little bit different in the morning when you get up to try to connect to what I'm feeling? To try to connect with that feeling the other day. That's really, again, that's that Nakuda Kedosha that we said that's so important. And that's why we said every day that you have to have a conversation, Mindain Ladain, right? You have to have conversation with each and every one, a friend, a true heartfelt conversation. Why? Because when you do that, I can share my Nakuda Kedosha with you, you could share your Nakuda Kedosha with me, and then we can both benefit by that. You understand? We could both benefit by having a true conversation on a daily basis with a good chaver. You understand? And then we said that we're supposed to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu every day because, again, I want to feel that Nakuda Kedosha, and that's my Yizbaididus. And we're supposed to have a conversation with a tzaddik every day, we said, remember? With a Rebbe every day. And we said that how do you have a conversation? How do you have a conversation with the Rebbe? They learn the Rebbe's teachings. Then you're having a conversation with the Rebbe, right? What'd you say?
It's a lot of time.
It takes time, yeah. The day is full. Day is full, yeah. Rabbi Nachman says you're supposed to learn through Shas and all Shulchan Aruch each year, and you're supposed to, yeah.
Busy day.
All tikkunei zayir. It's an active day. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, shu kineged tikkun hamedame shu bechinas emuna. So that's the idea of emuna. Okay. So far, so good. Shezeh bechinas the shin of the Abba Russian on the other side. So in other words, the shin now with the new concept, the three is Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the first three letters of the Yud Kei Vav Kei is on the right side of the tefillin, and on the left side we have Malchus, which is David HaMelech. That's why we're adding the fourth prong, and that's Malchus, which is the Emunah. Okay, new concept today. It's amazing all these things we're learning about tefillin. It's mind-boggling. Okay, so now the Ikar Bilbul Hamedama Sheim klal kol ha'machshava zoris v'hurim royim. So now we have a bilbul amadama, right? We have a confusion in our medama, right? What's the confusion in our medama? Right? The mind comes, the medama comes to try to confuse us. The Yetzer Hara tries to confuse us, try to lead us to all those things that we said, right? To take me away from thinking about Hashem. That's the bilbul amadama. To think it's this, it's every other thing that's causing whatever that's going on other than Hashem. That's bilbul amadama. Okay, and then we have the foreign thoughts in our minds, v'chakiras, v'kushis, v'kfiras, v'apikursas, right? And we have these chakiras, we start to investigate, why did Hashem do this like that? We have questions on it, right? We have kfira, and it leads us to heresy, and apikursas, okay. V'sham mine machshavos, hamebalbalin, v'ma'akmin. Them that cause a person, that make a person crooked, right? They take us away from the way of Hashem. Tzaddik emes shekol zeh nimshach. It all comes from where? From the koyach hamedame, from this idea that we have the imagination. When a person's not being mevara the medame, when a person's not working on making and training my thought, training my imagination to go in the way of holiness, to train my imagination to realize I'm one with Hashem. That's from that chalul apani again. That's we started the class today speaking about it. The chalul apani, that voided, vacated space. That's where Amalek set in. That's where all the questions come in. That's where all the kfira comes in, because Amalek says, "I'm here first before you, Hashem. There's no Hashem." And that's where all the kfira comes from that place, from that very place. That's where they have their hold. Bechinas hamedama shehu bechinas eitz hadas toivara. That's the place of the eitz hadas toivara. So we mamish learned a lot of concepts today. Does anyone have any questions or want to say anything on this that we learned so far?
One thing.
Yeah.
What the Amalek is saying, Hashem, you took yourself out of the space, so I jumped in. I'm in this space first.
Yeah, I'm in here I'm here.
That's
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah.
But yet, Hashem is still in that space because he can't.
And that's what they say, possession is 9/10 of the law, right? I'm here. See, it's mine. Yeah, anyway, yeah, what do you want to say?
No, I just wanted to, but how could he say it was here before? When you say before Hashem, it's like,
Hashem, you left, so this space, I'm here. In other words, it's really Hashem doing that. Hashem is giving him the power to do that. Yeah. Hashem wants him to do that. Hashem wants him to do that so we can be in this world and we can choose the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what he wants. He's only doing it, and he's only doing what Hashem wants him to do because Hashem's giving him the ability to do it. But we have to realize that. But that's part of the Medama again. To realize where are they getting their ability to say what they're saying? Hashem is giving them the ability to say it. For me to choose the right thing and not to subscribe to that. It's amazing, right? That's Koyach HaMedama. Right? They use that Koyach HaMedama in a way of that it's mebalbal, it's killed, there's a kilkul in there, right? It's damaged. Why? Because they're thinking of everything, it's a finite in the world itself. But when I realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinite, and every possibility of Yeshua is always infinite, because I'm connected to Rebbeinu Shalom, then that leads me to be the happiest person in the world, because I'm never worried about anything. You have the best protection that you could possibly have, the Rebbeinu Shalom. You wanted to say something, Eli?
It's at this point, it's a side point, but there's something of the connection between Tzorah Chaim and David HaMelech. Tzorah Chaim, the word shows up once in all of Tanakh.
Yeah.
And it shows up with regard to David HaMelech.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the connection.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's what Rav Nassim brought that in. He brought that. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and I guess everyone should have a great Shabbos and Kol Tuv.